Hey guys, before we get into this week's episode, we are making a big push to get on the new and noteworthy chart on iTunes. So if you could take a couple minutes and rate and review us, and be sure to tell a friend to do the same, that would really help us out. Thanks so much, and enjoy this show. Welcome to the King James Virgin, where each week Alan and Adam tell me a Bible story I've never heard before. I am Nick.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Adam. So this week, we are tackling Jacob and Esau.
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's tackle him.
So before we do...
Here's what I know.
That is
what do you know?
appropriate.
Nothing.
It is.
Right?
Beautifully, like, in multiple points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find out later.
Great. I know nothing about either of these.
Have you heard the names
humans.
before?
Esau sounds familiar. I mean, distinct enough.
Jacob
that
doesn't?
Well, it could be a plethora of Jacobs.
That's true.
Um,
Ironically, this is actually the story that sort of inspired the podcast.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm kind of excited to share
Really?
it. Yeah, it was when you and I were joking about this story, and Nick was around us, and we were telling kind of the ending of the story, and Nick just stared at us like we were crazy because he had no idea what we were referencing.
Oh.
This was the story.
Well,
that
it's a good thing that I've completely forgotten that interaction.
Yeah.
Well, we were probably just making side jokes at it, and
Yes.
we never actually said like the characters' names.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to give away chunks of the story, so maybe after the break we can talk about it a little bit more.
Great.
Anyway, I'm going to jump in if you guys are cool with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so Jacob and Esau are twins. Esau is older, Jacob is younger.
Let me stop you real
Whoa.
quick because yet
They are.
Well, yeah, but I feel like it's important. Yet again, we have a story where the mother's barren.
Ah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, barren watch. It's just another one where the woman is barren,
The
Yeah.
most depressing Twitter feed. Yep, she's barren.
and they pray to God, and then she is with child.
With dual
So no angel like proclaiming to her face that she would have children.
Well, and also Isaac was 40 already, which is pretty.
Whoa.
It was just either very old by actual standards or
Or
very young by
some biblical standards.
like Bible
I
standards.
think we've
Yeah.
done this on every episode.
I
now.
know. Yeah. So Isaac pleaded with the Lord, and the Lord granted his plea.
So they're twins. Is
Yes.
one slightly sexier?
Yes. Sexier is an interesting term. So Esau comes out basically looking like a bear. He is completely hairy. Like this man is like, he grows up to be this like just like behemoth of a man. Whereas Jacob is like smooth like a baby his entire life. He's just like the opposite. If you like whatever hirsute is, the opposite. They are the two opposites of that spectrum.
Yeah. It says that Esau came out like a hairy garment all over and red.
Yeah, right. Red.
Wow.
How you
Well, yeah,
I'm
hard to
guessing
pick
he's
which
like
one
a
is sexier.
Fuzzy ginger.
Yeah. It's kind of important to give a little context here. Jacob is the grandson of Abraham. So Abraham, we haven't covered yet on this series, but for our listeners who know a little bit about the Bible, Abraham is considered the father of the Jewish nation. So everything from Abraham down is considered like that's Jewish.
Yep.
Just for context. And there's a lot of crazy ass stories in between here. But especially when you get to the New Testament, whenever they're referring to kind of forefathers, they will say things like the son of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Sure.
This is that Jacob.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's the younger twin.
He is the younger twin, and that is important because that means he is not eligible for the birthright, which goes to the eldest son.
Right.
So
Yeah, piece of shit.
Exactly. Now, apparently everybody in the Bible just hates their own family because from like day one, Isaac prefers Esau, and I don't remember the mom's name.
Rebecca.
So Isaac prefers Esau, and Rebecca prefers Jacob.
But Isaac only likes Esau because he likes his meat.
Oh, right.
He's a skillful hunter.
Right, he's a skillful hunter and preparer of meat.
Right.
Like, because it's the preparation is a part of this too.
Yeah.
So
It just says he loved him because he ate of his game.
Well,
I mean, you got to love your kids for some reason.
Yeah, that's it.
They're going to have some sort of like internal family, like fancy declaration of birthright because Isaac is blind, or basically blind. He's not quite blind, but he's basically blind.
Nope, not there yet.
There's more?
This happens way before blindness.
Oh, I have no idea where we're going. Like, I'm jumping straight to blindness.
Just pause on blindness because I think you're headed in the right direction. Otherwise,
Okay.
not blind yet.
Well, I'm going straight to birthright.
Correct. Do it.
Adam's wheels are turning.
Well, like, the blindness is kind of
Are you going towards fake fur or stew?
both.
Oh, you got to go stew first.
They're the same thing, aren't
They're
they?
not.
What?
They're like 20 years apart.
No.
Yeah. Birthright is like 20 years prior to...
Well, then how does he...
I actually couldn't figure out what the difference was between birthright and blessing.
Oh, so he didn't get the birthright because it's the blessing.
Right, so he steals... So he barters for the birthright.
Okay,
and
I
then he
had
steals
bound
the
them
blessing.
together. Okay.
I know, but
Okay.
I don't know what's different about
So
them.
we're going to rewind. Everybody just ignore what just happened. Exactly. So they're several years into being, like, I think they're just about to get to adulthood, and Esau is going to get the birthright. And basically,
Whatever that is.
it's all of his stuff. Literally all of his stuff.
Yeah. You've got the will, basically.
Yeah, but that's what the blessing is.
Oh.
Well, it's kind of confusing.
Because later it says, like, he already stole my birthright, and now he stole my blessing. And I'm like, wait, they're different?
Huh.
Anyway, so, yeah, it's two separate stories. The birthright is Esau is out hunting.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back, and he's famished.
Yes.
Can you take over this one? No?
Oh, yeah. So he abandons his birthright. He basically goes like, if you can make sure that I'm fed.
Yeah, Esau comes back from hunting. He's super hungry.
Yes.
Jacob's, I imagine, sitting on the ground making stew.
Yeah, because he's kind of a pansy by like this story standards.
But good with stew. And so Esau is like, oh my God. And he's actually really polite about it. He says, please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. And Jacob says, sell me your birthright as of this day.
Jesus.
So, like, kind of an a-hole.
Yeah, just like jumps in.
But Esau says, I'm about to die, so what good is my birthright?
Right.
Just give me the stew.
I'd forgotten all
So
about this.
He agrees. He abandons his birthright.
Right.
And
which means like now Jacob gets everything. Except not.
But yeah, that's what it seems like. So,
I think really it is like birthright is the physical possessions and the blessing is like the spiritual blessings of
I
God.
have information on this.
awesome.
How the hell do you have
Nick's
information on
Googling.
this?
Because I have technology.
Google or Bing.
I'm binging over here, baby.
Yeah, I kind of felt like you were a binger.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
Sorry. But I am getting paid by them to say that.
Bing. Better than Google.
Bing, get at me. Okay, so as the firstborn son, Esau automatically held the birthright. A birthright was an honor given to the firstborn, bestowing head of household status and the right to inherit his father's estate.
So the right to inherit.
Yes.
But the blessing is the actual inheritance?
Do we want to get to the blessing?
I
yet, or
know.
do we
I
want
think
to-
we can. Let's
Let's
get
pause.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
So then, fast forward 20 years later.
Totally, because now we have a bunch of chapters of just Isaac moving around.
So this
So
is
like,
okay.
there's Abimelech in that as well.
I know the name. I do not remember anything
Yeah,
about him.
they dwell in Gerar.
It's like garage, but missing a few consonants.
I honestly just kind of skimmed through this a bit until
That's
I saw
fair.
Jacob's name again.
So 20 years later, now Isaac is
Abimelech,
basically blind. Abimelech is a great name.
Yeah,
good name.
great.
So good.
Don't hear a lot of Abimelechs.
No, not popular.
Well,
No, or
2020,
Esau's for that
maybe 2020 is the
As
year.
far
of
as I
Abimelech.
know, a better dude than Jacob.
Well, probably. Isaac is basically blind at this point.
Okay.
Correct.
And so he feels like I'm close to dying. I'm blind. I better give my blessing to Esau because he is the firstborn and rightful receiver of the birth of the blessing. And Rebecca at this point, since Jacob's her favorite, is like, I don't want Esau to have it. He's a hairy brute of an asshole. I don't like him. Jacob, I want you to get it. And Jacob's kind of wishy-washy in this. Like, not. I don't think he's initially in on it because he's like, there's no way that like Esau's like a beast. He's covered in hair. There's no way that like he's gonna just grab my arm and totally tell that it's
Jacob basically says, well, if he finds out, he's going to curse me.
right. I don't want to
And
be cursed.
Rebecca's like, well, then the curse is on me.
Right. She takes
Like,
the curse.
just do what I say. She says it a bunch of times, like,
The curse is on me.
just do what I command.
The long and the short is that what they end up doing is
Nice
taking
lady.
goat skins and tying them around his arms and like around his body. Do they cover his face?
Well, it's because Isaac has asked Esau to go out hunting,
Right, and
to make him a savory meal. Rebecca overhears this, so she tells Jacob to go find like the 2 best kid goats.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Oh, right, and they use those
Bring him.
goats.
So she makes the meal, and then she wraps his forearms and the smooth part of his neck in goat skin.
You know.
Yeah, as opposed to the
Well,
not
have one.
smooth part.
Yeah.
of his neck.
This. So yeah, this part as a child just baffled me that like, how could you not tell that you weren't touching like goat fur versus somebody's skin?
Mhm.
Maybe. I don't know, Isaac's further gone than we think. Anyway, so what ends up happening, he goes in, brings a dish, like lowers his voice, like, hey, Dad, here's your meat.
He also is dressed in Esau's clothes, which I imagine smells strongly.
terrible.
Mm.
Right, because there is, like, they're trying to trick Dad. Like, let's not forget, like, this is his wife, like, trying to trick him.
And Isaac the whole time is like, you
Something's-
sound like Jacob,
But you're
but
hairy.
You're furry and you smell.
Uh-huh.
Must be.
Yeah.
So it must
That's
be
2 against 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it works,
Mhm.
and Isaac's like,
I'm
all right.
now just picturing him as Daredevil, by the way, in the story. I can't get that image
This is
out
the
of my
second
head.
time we've talked about Daredevil on this podcast. too.
Really?
Yeah. Samson, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who else was blind.
So
Everyone's barren and
everyone's
Daredevil.
Baron, everyone's Baron and Daredevil. Isaac goes, I'm blessing you. You're blessed. You're blessed. You're blessed.
Yeah.
And he receives the blessing and like scoots out of there just as Esau like cruises back into the camp and's like, Dad, I have food. Let's do this blessing. And Isaac's like, oh my God, I've given away the blessing. Oh no.
You can't take that. No backsies.
Nope, no backsies.
There's no blessing left for
There's
you.
no blessing left for you. And like he's raging, and Rebecca's like, so I miscalculated a little bit. Your brother's gonna straight up murder you, so you need to leave. And I don't mean like leave like for a little bit. You need to fucking like book it days, months away.
Yeah,
to
go stay with my brother.
Go stay with my brother. So like he's like, it takes him a couple weeks to get there.
What's great is so she first tells that to Isaac. She's like, oh, so Jacob's going to get murdered, so you need to tell him to go stay with my brother. But also, I don't like any of the women around here, who I'm pretty sure are all Isaac's relatives. I don't want him to marry any of these local
So
women.
it's a that's right, because that's how she sells it. Is like, you should have him go and get
so you
a
need to
better
tell
woman.
him that he can't marry his local cousins.
Right. Right. So go stay with my brother, or I'm going to stay with my brother.
Yeah.
So Jacob packs a bag, books it,
Mhm.
and then proceeds to like chill. Like I imagine like going through like deserts and forests and like this like crazy long like kind of montagey thing.
Okay.
In the middle,
Yeah.
Jacob is getting ready to like making camp, finds a rock to put his head on. And I don't know why this is a key detail, but they focus on the rock.
Totally. I absolutely do not understand why you would use a rock for a pillow and not like
Just not.
Anything else.
cloak,
Right.
a bush.
Yeah, or just pass.
Yeah, or just not use something.
Right.
So he's sleeping on the ground, rock is a pillow.
He selected a rock.
Selected a rock. And in the middle of the night, he has a what we would call a fever dream and what he calls a vision. And he sees essentially, and it's called Jacob's ladder, but it's the way it's described is basically an escalator of angels going up and down to heaven. And somehow he intuits from this vision that God is still on his side, even though he's been an asshole.
Well, the Lord spoke to him in the dream.
Oh, and just showed him the
Yeah, he saw this giant ladder of angels going up and down.
escalator.
Escalator. And he was like, if it's broken, it still stairs. Anyway, this is when God tells him that your descendants will be like dust and sand, like numerous.
Not in a bad way, like
countless.
like
You'll
of
have
the- like
so many.
sand
You
on the
can't
ocean.
even
Yeah.
count them.
Right. It's a good experience for Jacob, I guess. And so he's really excited that
It's a
like, he said
reoccurring
this.
theme where they there's important rocks in the desert.
Oh, that is kind of true.
Name the place,
Right.
and the place is blessed,
Yep.
Huh.
and it's just a rock in the desert.
The Bible, man.
Or is it a pile of drugs?
Oh. I mean, it could very well be that he just took some magic mushrooms and this is what he saw. He eventually makes it to, does it say where they actually land? Or where his uncle is?
Land of the people of the East.
Oh, okay. The East people.
Yep.
So he gets to the East people's place and meets his...
Today we call that
Whoa,
Baltimore.
This
Yes.
might be where. Hold on. So just before that, This might be where the tithe comes from.
The 10%?
Yeah, because it says, and this stone which I have set as a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that you give me, I will surely give a tenth to you.
Holy shit.
That's where tithe comes from. So
A fever dream rock thing.
we grew up. You gave 10% of your income to the church.
That was tithe, and then offerings were on top of that if you so chose to.
Offerings were tips.
Yes.
Tithe was like mandatory to the church, 10% of everything you make.
Yeah.
And it is like kept track of.
Yeah,
Very much
hangout
so.
tokens, we can call them.
Yeah. It's more like mortgage. Like if you don't do it for a while, things are going to be you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, like the pastor won't come have like church lunch at your house.
You can't hold office or any sort of like
Right, they keep track of who tithes. Like you could probably get fired.
I actually had a friend who had a job lined up, and because he had missed tithe for a couple of months when he was incredibly poor as a student, the job disappeared.
Neat.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So that happened,
Like Jesus would do.
like Jesus would do. So
By the way, starting right now, I'm implementing a tithe on this podcast.
oh Jesus,
Yes, and both of you will need to give me 10% of your earnings,
you're
bad things will happen.
you're electing yourself as the church.
Yes,
All right, fair enough.
I have buttons in front of me.
That is true.
Suddenly just slap back delay. So he's in Baltimore. We decided that
People of the East.
People of the East, Baltimore. He's in Baltimore and meets up with his uncle. And this is very key. This is his uncle.
Okay.
And he's going to live with them. Uncle has 2 daughters.
Okay.
Yeah. Rachel and Leah.
I feel like you know where this is going.
Yeah.
Leah, the older, not into.
Uh-huh.
Rachel, the younger,
Right.
into.
Younger babe.
Yeah.
That's a
It
established
says,
thing already.
Leah's eyes were delicate. And I think it's using
that
delicate as a
mean?
pejorative. So this Bible has like a side thing. Delicate meaning either weak,
Disgusting.
so like poor eyesight, or just like unattractive.
Jesus.
Yeah, he held up some charts, and she couldn't read them
She
adequately.
couldn't see the big E.
Could not read. That might have been. So
Yeah.
he goes, Laban?
Laban.
Laban.
Laban's
Yeah,
the
nailed
uncle's
it.
name. Okay, so
Nailed it.
Laban goes to Laban, goes like, I want to marry your daughter. Sorry, I want to marry Rachel.
Yeah.
And Laban's like, all right, work for me for 7 years for free, and you've earned the right to marry her.
Jacob actually proposes the 7 years.
Oh, Jacob does?
Mhm.
Well, that's on him then.
It totally is.
I was going to make Laban.
No bartering.
Yeah,
Just
like,
going straight to 7 years.
I'm going to work 7 years for you.
Well, he's also, he brought up the 10% thing. He's not a great bargainer. This is also already
That is
established.
Very
so
true.
But he's also been walking through the desert, so it's not like he had a lot
Right.
going for him.
Yeah, and God knows what caused those dreams, so he could be
Maybe he
hydrated.
hoped that in that 7 years he would meet somebody not related to him. And
I
then
think related
think
was
so.
related might have been a plus.
Like,
Great,
this seems
sure.
to be a
Wonderful.
boon. This is very Game of Thronesy.
Or just Bible.
or
the Game of Thrones is
more
Bible-y.
Bible. Yeah, that's true. So he does it. Works for 7 years. Day of the wedding. Everybody's festive. Everybody's excited. Leah goes to Dad and is like, "There's no way that Rachel's getting married before I do."
Ugh.
And Laban is like, "You're right. Here's what we're gonna do. We'll put the veil over you so he can't see who he's marrying. He will marry you, and then when it's all over, he'll just like, sorry."
Yeah.
So this is the start of one of the phrases that comes up far, far too often in this story.
Excellent.
So now it came to pass in the evening that he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Jacob did? So hold on. Is the wedding just fucking?
The wedding's over.
Oh, okay.
He made a feast.
Because I remember there being a part in the wedding where he wants to lift the veil and he's like, we don't do it.
I think that was just like
Was it just Bible
yeah,
class?
exactly.
Wow.
Okay, so the whole text is, and Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast, and then the going into her part.
Good for him.
Going into her. It's like 8 times in the story. It's just so bad.
That's fun.
Anyway,
So he then, presumably after the going into her, realizes that he's married the wrong daughter
the next morning.
the next morning. So
Wow.
he goes, "Oh God, not no, wrong, no, oh God, no," and goes to Laban's like, "What did you do?" And Laban's like, "Tough."
No,
but
it just said like it's tradition in this country
Oh,
for the oldest daughter
to be
needs
married
first.
Mhm.
and Jacob's like, "Fine," and Laban's like, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you Rachel as well if you work for me another 7 years."
Oh.
And Jacob's like, fine. I shortened the story because that's basically what happens.
Honestly, what you just said is longer than the text in the Bible.
Really? It's just
Yeah.
okay.
No, there is a
pretty
line
spot
of fine, right?
More or less.
So he does that. Marries Rachel.
He marries Rachel a week later, but then has to work an additional
That's
7
right. So he
years.
actually gets to marry her right away. And so he's got...
Payment up front this time.
Yeah. And so he...
no feast, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody was probably still eating leftovers from the previous one.
Only a week.
So he has 2 wives and starts 2 families, and things generally aren't great between them. He at some point, I don't remember why, he decides it's time for me to go home.
Oh, boy. No, not yet. There's a lot of like
Adam's wrapping it up.
wife
Alan is not ready.
swapping and servant fucking and
What?
so okay.
This part, there was none of this was like.
I mean, if you're still going off of cartoons, I
Right.
think that they probably abridged.
There was no
this
cartoon
section.
of this one. This
Okay.
story is too boring. This is just a lot of cousin.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think there was I
boy.
have animated
So when the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So again,
more barren.
another barren woman.
Well, because that's right. Because eventually she has Joseph.
So Leah had had 4 kids. So the 4 first tribes:
I was gonna say there's more than that.
Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah.
Right. This, by the way, this is where the 12 tribes of Israel come from. Are the descendants of Jacob.
Okay.
Yeah. So Leah had 4.
Yep.
Rachel was very upset that she had not provided any
baby.
kids, and so
I presume by didn't provide kids, just boys.
she was barren.
They could have both had women.
No, because it mentions one daughter later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dinah. And so when Rachel was upset that she bore Jacob no children and said, "Give me children or else I die," and Jacob was pissed.
Yeah.
And so Rachel was like, "Fine, sleep with my maid."
"Oh, that's a family thing too."
Anyway, then Leah was like, "Now you should have sex with my maid."
Oh,
We're just bringing
boy.
all the maids into this.
And so that's Gad and Asher.
Oh my God.
There's a weird thing where like Leah's oldest son comes home with some mandrakes and Rachel wants them. And Leah's like, "No."
Wait, mandrakes aren't there? Isn't that a Harry Potter thing?
I thought so, but apparently not. But basically, Rachel wants some mandrakes and says, "I'll convince Jacob to sleep with you."
They're bartering Jacob's boner
Yeah.
for mandrakes.
For Mandrake.
And so Leah had another son, and then Leah had another one, Zebulun.
Ooh.
Then
That's
God,
also a good name.
Yeah.
they're all pretty good.
Does he have a story? Are we going to get to that one?
You heard it. This is about all.
Ah.
This is about all, except for Joseph. This is about all
Man.
any of them do.
I'm really bummed
Yeah.
out about that. We're going to have to make one up.
He was a good name, bad personality.
And then God remembered Rachel and opened her womb, and
Just
she
open that shit
had
right up.
Joseph.
Yeah. So Joseph's born, which that will be key in a future story.
And Jacob, was like loved Joseph because it was from the wife that he actually liked.
Yeah. And although like dude is like plowing everybody in this household apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
servants,
Although
wives.
wives don't seem to have a problem with it since they're
It
bartering
was
it.
their idea.
This is nuts.
And servants and relations.
yeah,
Servants and cousins.
really anybody who's around.
Cousins,
Yeah.
sisters, servants.
You know, it's possible. Maybe he was just like incredibly well endowed or very skillful, and so everybody was just like, "I want to get in on this. How do I get in on this?" And the wives were like, "Well, pass me some mandrake. I'll get you some time with my husband."
All right, now we're to that part that I was reading earlier, and I was like, what the hell does this even mean?
Excellent.
So this is when he decides he wants to leave.
Okay, because I don't remember what is the turning.
Do you remember
thing.
the thing about the speckled goats?
No.
He's wanting to leave, but he still has like no possessions because he's been working for free for 14 years.
Yeah.
And so he goes to Laban and is like, "All right, I'll take all of your sheep that are imperfect. So like speckled,
right.
spotted.
No, I do remember this.
Not
seconds.
perfect.
Yeah, the really
seconds.
gross ones.
The reject sheep. And so
The one with,
Laban's
three
like,
hooves.
fantastic. And he goes to his sons and has them weed out all those sheep and like take them away. So only the perfect ones are left. And Jacob's like, fine. And so he does some weird stuff where he like strips the bark off of rods and sets them before the flocks. And the best part is this Bible has commentary on the side.
Excellent.
It's so good. This is better than the text itself. Anyway, the result of the sticks makes like stronger speckled sheep.
Well, what happened is they didn't have inbreeding, so they probably just ended up having like better genetic pools with more diversity.
Right.
But here's the Bible commentary. Jacob was not practicing superstition. He was exercising faith, which he somehow associated with the rods. God, having designed the laws of genetics, intervened and honored Jacob's faith.
Retconning genetics into this.
It's so good. Anyway, so he made a bunch of like super soldier spotted sheep.
Super sheep. Yep.
And was like, okay, well now these ones are mine.
Yeah,
Since
I got
you
the super
cheated me a million times already.
Yep. I'm taking my 2 wives, the harem that they've apparently grabbed with me, my sheep.
So at this point, Laban's sons are super pissed because Jacob's taken all the super sheep. And so that's why they are like,
To be fair,
now we're really
this
leaving.
is a trend. Jacob tends to piss off anybody he's peers with.
The best part is though, like Laban keeps fucking with Jacob.
Yeah.
But in like the same way that Jacob's mom, Laban's sister,
fucked
like
with.
cheated
Oh, sure.
to
Absolutely.
get Jacob the things. Like it's
I mean, that makes sense.
That
they
seems
must have had horrible childhood trauma.
It's a Baltimore thing.
it's a Baltimore thing.
I feel like I'm getting way too
But
deep
not
in
really.
this.
Like, this is kind of like a lot of this stuff is historically, this is kind of the beginning of the Jewish nation.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting this is where a lot of the wealth begins to accrue.
And the cheated and stolen from. And so
blessings
this
and
is why
curses.
they finally leave Laban.
Yeah. So they leave Laban, and Jacob's like, I'm going to go back, and maybe my brother will kill me. Maybe we can patch things up. I don't know. So they're trucking across the desert, and presumably it takes...
Well, there's also the thing where Laban chases him down and is like, I can't believe you left without saying goodbye. Also, you stole my idols. Because remember Rachel,
right, because they think they can sell them.
she stole all of her dad's
That's
idols and like
right.
tucked them under her saddle. And Jacob's like, you can kill anyone you find with those idols.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
she- and she
forgot
was
all about this.
And she was hiding him, but that's the whole story. It doesn't resolve.
Right, because they never find them, right?
Yeah, they just leave.
Huh.
That's what I'm saying. This story is really long and kind of goes all over the place.
It feels a little bit
Lots
like
of kind of small tangential things that are of no consequence.
It's like a really important story with really unimportant details.
it's like a 5-year-old telling you a story. Like, just like
Does
this,
he
like,
find the rock on the way back?
I don't. Is it at the rock?
Never hear about the rock.
No, the rock
again.
never happens again.
After all that.
No,
Yeah.
but they're working their way back, and there's a river that they have to cross before they get into Esau's territory. If I remember correctly, is that right? So,
I really skimmed this last part.
So I believe that,
It's
and
so
so they're
boring.
kind of like, it's the night before. Anyway, regardless, it's the night before they're going to cross over into Esau's territory. And I want to say that like Esau has been sending out emissaries, like, I want to fuck you up if you come into my territory. Like, he's like sending people out, and like Jacob's at this point kind of terrified that Esau's not forgotten, not forgiven. He's going to like just kill his brother.
He's really nervous about it.
Right. But so he, in the middle of the night, leaves the camp and just to go pray and like, just like, just like he's stressing out. So he's going to go and pray. And he's like all night praying, like, God, is this the right thing to do? Blah, 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 blah. And never, and he's just wrestling, just really not having like a good time. And all of a sudden he feels like there's somebody behind him and he's attacked. Like by bandits style, and like they're just wrestling and going. It's pitch black, and they're like shaking and banging and crashing.
Just him and a dude.
Just him and a dude,
Okay.
going at it. And there's like wrestling, and like Jacob finally gets to a point where he has him like in a headlock, and he's gonna like end him. And this guy like just lightly taps his hip, and it just dislocates. And Jacob goes like, "Oh shit! I haven't been wrestling with a bandit. That's a fucking angel." And so Jacob at this point, like with dislocated hip, grabs onto him and goes like, I will not let you go until you bless me. Which I like to assume was actually a bandit who was just freaked the fuck out and like it was just a freak accident that the hip dislocated. So he's like, holding like, you will bless me. and he gets his blessing and says like,
sure, dude, whatever, you're blessed.
Right. And thus endeth that interaction. But the next day, like he's got
but also to this day, whenever this was written in Genesis, they don't eat the muscle around the hip socket.
Oh,
were they eating people before that?
That's to this day. I don't do that.
So, so they
to this day, 6,000 years ago, or never.
Right. So they get up the next day, and like Jacob's like hobbling all over the place because his hips dislocated, and so he's like on a crutch, and he's just like
probably. I mean, it's probably actually from all the humping, right?
Oh, that tracks.
Yeah. Wrestling with a stranger. It's like a truck stop rendezvous.
Oh man, he was bisexual.
I was wrestling with a stranger. It was an angel.
Angel
did this.
Blessed me. He blessed me.
I meant all of
he
the
blessed
humping.
Bless me all night.
So
I'm just gonna finish it out.
Oh god. So
basically, he sees his brother,
and the brother's like basically
good.
sees him and goes like, he has pity on him because he looks like he's got the shit kicked out of him, and goes like, it's okay. I forgive you. We can live happily ever after. And then Esau disappears from history because Esau's been living on his parents' land. It's Jacob's shit. So presumably, like, not only is he's like, yeah, it's all cool. Jacob like, all right, so I get the house back. I get the money. I get the animals. I get everything.
Yep.
And Esau, I don't know, goes and hunts.
Yeah, basically.
It sounds nice.
Another story with just a killer ending.
Well,
it's a happy ending.
But I think this is the first one that we've done that's not like either, like a weird build up to this thing that then just ends, leaving everybody hanging kind of.
Yeah, I guess there is some resolution.
It has a little bit of a resolution, but it's also not that much of a like pat on the back happy ending that feels like undeserved or like too forced.
Yeah.
I'm defending this story.
Okay. All right.
And first story that we've covered that has like a female character that actually like people listen to and like they do shit that she says.
And is named.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this guy is just cheating people and then surprised that people want to kill him a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, to be fair, everybody in this story seems to be trying to cheat somebody out of something.
They're all terrible.
Because like Rachel is cheating her dad
honestly,
out of the idols.
Leah's probably the like most stand-up character.
Right. Well, if you have delicate eyes, you end up being a really nice personality.
You can't see anyone. You got to be nice to people.
Delicate eyes. That seems like a Victorian compliment.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the first time I've like wanted to read it in the ancient Greek or whatever this is written in.
Aramaic?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We'll be right back here on the King James Virgin. And we're back on the King James Virgin.
So yeah, that's Jacob and Esau. And like I said earlier, like this was the kind of the story that kicked off this whole podcast
because of the wrestling.
Yeah, I didn't want to like give it away earlier, but yeah, we what had happened is I was limping or something, and I came in to the office that Alan and I were working on, and Nick was there just visiting. Alan asked if I was wrestling with an angel all night, and I was like, yeah, but I got his blessing from him, so we're all good. And Nick was just like...
At which point they both looked at me, and I gave them a disgusted look and probably left.
I think it was more of you were just flabbergasted, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
There's this like level of understanding between the two of you. I mean, on all things, but something like this where I'm like, okay, you're specifically referencing something. Yeah.
Something very strange.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of got us thinking that like this was an interesting concept because I mean, Alan and I kind of don't think about this massive amount of knowledge that we have accrued.
I get why it sticks. I've just heard this story for the first time. Again, not as epic of a story as some other ones that we've done, but I think that it you referenced Game of Thrones and Harry Potter throughout this, and it's because there's so many characters and you don't really like any of them. It's unclear, like there's no real hero or villain.
No, Jacob's supposed to be.
So you're just kind of invested in this kind of sitcom or like drama, like you want to know what happens. It's maybe like the first thing where you actually have like multiple characters with like that are not just two-dimensional.
That's true.
Yeah. Jacob is probably the most unlikable character in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jacob has
Bad
done
people.
nothing to make me root for him.
No.
He's just stolen things.
Yeah.
Well, I think you mentioned
Good at breeding sheep.
Nick,
with like old timey witchcraft.
that's true, or figuring out that diversity actually turns out to help you.
Yeah.
Nick, you
I
mentioned,
believe we cleared up it was specifically neither of those
that's
things.
true. It was sticks.
Yes.
Sticks.
No, it was
divine
God.
sticks.
God
and
using
genetics.
sticks.
Divine via sticks.
Via sticks.
Yeah, so really that was just a long story and really important. There's just so many weird little details that it gets a little confusing.
I guess it does kind of like set up a bunch of coming up stories.
Yeah, and the next story that kind of comes off of this, of Joseph,
Yeah.
is a much tidier, good story.
Yeah. And we do some traveling in it.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
and actually the story before this too of
Isaac and
Isaac
Abraham.
is a doozy in itself. So this is kind of that middle filler.
Well, you'll have to stay tuned for those stories on future
Ooh.
episodes.
Thanks so much for listening. You can follow us at KJVPod on both Twitter and Instagram to keep up with what we're doing and where you can listen next. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes or whatever podcatcher you use. iTunes especially uses the ratings and reviews to float podcasts to the top of their recommendation lists, and that helps us get new listeners. Thanks to Mascaras and Resurrection Records for the use of our theme song, Kixari, off the album El Moren. Because we love what Resurrection Records is doing, we're trying to highlight a different band at the end of every episode. And this week we're using Buffet and their song Four Brides for Four Guys. Little secret, Nick is actually in that band. You can find links to this song and everything that Resurrection Records does in our show notes.
So that'll do it for us here at the King James Virgin. Until next week, find yourself a mandrake root to barter with. Thanks for listening.
Produced by Sonic Bazaar.